Kashmir is a geographical region in the northwest of the Indian subcontinent. Until the mid-19th century, the term Kashmir geographically denoted only the valley between the Great Himalayas and the Pir Panjal mountain range. Today, it denotes a larger area that includes the Indian-administered territories of Jammu and Kashmir, the Pakistan-administered territories of Azad Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan, and the Chinese-administered regions of Aksai Chin and the Trans-Karakoram Tract. Although Jammu is part of the disputed Kashmir region, it is not geographically part of the Kashmir Valley nor the Ladakh region. The Jammu division is inhabited by the Dogra people who are historically, culturally, linguistically, and geographically connected with the Punjab region and the Pahari regions of the former Punjab Hills states that now comprise the state of Himachal Pradesh. In the first half of the first millennium, the Kashmir region became an important center of Cambodia and later of Buddhism. Later still, in the 9th century, Kashmir Shaivism arose. In 1339, Shah Mir became the first Muslim ruler of Kashmir, inaugurating the Salatanate-i-Kashmir or Swati dynasty. For the next 5 centuries, Muslim monarchs ruled Kashmir, including the Mughals, who ruled from 1526 until 1751, and the Afghan Durrani Empire, which ruled from 1747 until 1820. That year, the Sikhs, under Ranjit Singh, annexed Kashmir. In 1846, after the Sikh defeat in the First Anglo-Sikh War, and upon the purchase of the region from the British under the Treaty of Amritsar, the Raja of Jammu, Gulab Singh, became the new ruler of Kashmir. The rule of his descendants, under the paramountcy of the British Crown, lasted until 1947. When the former princely state of the British Indian Empire became a disputed territory, now administered by 3 countries, India, Pakistan, and the People's Republic of China. Etymology. The Sanskrit word for Kashmir was and, as with many ancient toponyms, its source and original meaning remain unknown. Kashmir was archaically spelled Kashmir in English. Over the centuries, various Puranas linked the word Kasmira to the name of the mythical sage Kashyapa. History. Hinduism and Buddhism in Kashmir. Since medieval times, Kashmir has been an important center for the development of a Buddhist-Hinduist syncretism, in which Madhyamaka and Yogara were blended with Saivism and Advaita Vedanta. The Buddhist Mauryan emperor Ashoka is often credited with having founded the old capital of Kashmir, Srinagari, now ruins on the outskirts of modern Srinagar. Kashmir was long to be a stronghold of Buddhism. As a Buddhist seat of learning, the Sarvastivadin school strongly influenced Kashmir. East and Central Asian Buddhist monks are recorded as having visited the kingdom. In the late 4th century CE, the famous Kutchinese monk Kumarajiva, born to an Indian noble family, studied Durgagama and Madhyagama in Kashmir under Bandudatta. He later became a prolific translator who helped take Buddhism to China. His mother Jiva is thought to have retired to Kashmir. Vimalaksa, a Sarvastivadin Buddhist monk, travelled from Kashmir to Kutch and there instructed Kumarajiva in the Vinayapitaka. According to tradition, Adi Shankara visited the pre-existing Sarvinapitha in Kashmir in the late 8th century or early 9th century CE. The Madhavya Shankara Vijayam states this temple had 4 doors for scholars from the 4 cardinal directions. The southern door had never been opened, indicating that no scholar from South India had entered the Sarvajnapitha. According to tradition, Adi Shankara opened the southern door by defeating in debate all the scholars there in all the various scholastic disciplines such as Mimamsa, Vedanta and other branches of Hindu philosophy. He ascended the throne of transcendent wisdom of that temple. Abhinavagupta was one of India's greatest philosophers, mystics and aestheticians. He was also considered an important musician, poet, dramatist, exegete, theologian, and logician, a polymathic personality who exercised strong influences on Indian culture. He was born in the Kashmir Valley in a family of scholars and mystics and studied all the schools of philosophy and art of his time under the guidance of as many as 15 teachers and gurus. In his long life he completed over 35 works, the largest and most famous of which is Tantraloka, an encyclopedic treatise on all the philosophical and practical aspects of Trika and Kaula. Another one of his very important contributions was in the field of philosophy of aesthetics with his famous Abhinava Bharati commentary of Natyasastra of Bharata Muni. In the 10th century, Moksopaya or Moksopaya Shastra, a philosophical text on salvation for non-ascetics, was written on the Pradyumna hill in Srinagar. It has the form of a public sermon and claims human authorship and contains about 30,000 shlokas. The main part of the text forms a dialogue between Vasitha and Rama, interchanged with numerous short stories and anecdotes to illustrate the content. This text was later expanded and Vedanticized, which resulted in the Yoga Vasitha. Muslim rule Shams-ud-Din Shamir was a ruler of Kashmir and the founder of the Kashmiri dynasty named after him. Samsud-din, also Shams-ud-Din and Shamir, was the first Muslim ruler of Kashmir and founder of the Shamir dynasty. Jonaraja, in his Vitya Raja Tarangini, mentioned him as Sahamra. He came from Sawat according to some sources. However, Jonaraja, a credible historian, informs us that Shamir was not from Swat, so some historians say he was not from Swat but was a Kshatriya descended from Arjuna whose ancestors had taken up Islam. Shamir arrived in Kashmir in 1313 along with his family, during the reign of Suhadeva, whose service he entered. In subsequent years, through his tact of nobility, Shamir rose to prominence and became one of the most important personalities of his time. Later, after the death in 1338 of Udayanadeva, the brother of Suhadeva, he was able to assume the kingship himself. Rinchen, a commander from Ladakh region who had entered Kashmir as a fugitive, seized the throne of Kashmir, started his personal quest for religion, was not accepted into Hinduism by the Brahmins due to his race, happened to watch Sayyid Bilal at prayer, was enchanted by the simplicity of the Sayyid's faith and embraced it with fervor. Rinchen from Ladakh, and Lankachak from Dard territory near Gilgit came to Kashmir, and played a notable role in the subsequent political history of the valley. All the three men were granted Jagirs by the king. Rinchen for 3 years became the ruler of Kashmir. Shamir was the first ruler of Shamir dynasty, which had established in 1339. Sikh rule in 1819, the Kashmir Valley passed from the control of the Durrani Empire of Afghanistan, and 4 centuries of Muslim rule under the Mughals and the Afghans, to the conquering armies of the Sikhs under Ranjit Singh of Lahore. As the Kashmiris had suffered under the Afghans, they initially welcomed the new Sikh rulers. However, the Sikh governors turned out to be hard taskmasters, and Sikh rule was generally considered oppressive. Protected perhaps by the remoteness of Kashmir from the capital of the Sikh Empire in Lahore, the Sikhs enacted a number of anti-Muslim laws, which included handing out death sentences for cow slaughter, closing down the Jamia Masjid in Srinagar, and banning the azan, the public Muslim call to prayer. Kashmir had also now begun to attract European visitors, several of whom wrote of the abject poverty of the vast Muslim peasantry and of the exorbitant taxes under the Sikhs. High taxes, according to some contemporary accounts, had depopulated large tracts of the countryside, allowing only 1/16 of the cultivable land to be cultivated. However, after a famine in 1832, the Sikhs reduced the land tax to half the produce of the land and also began to offer interest-free loans to farmers. Kashmir became the second highest revenue earner for the Sikh Empire. During this time, Kashmiri shawls became known worldwide, attracting many buyers, especially in the West. Earlier, in 1780, after the death of Ranjit Deo, the Raja of Jammu, the Kingdom of Jammu was also captured by the Sikhs and afterwards, until 1846, became a tributary to Sikh power. Ranjit Deo's grandnephew, Gulab Singh, subsequently sought service at the court of Ranjit Singh, distinguished himself in later campaigns, especially the annexation of the Kashmir Valley, and, for his services, was appointed governor of Jammu in 1820. With the help of his officer, Zorawar Singh, Gulab Singh soon captured for the Sikhs the lands of Ladakh and Baltistan to the east and northeast, respectively, of Jammu. Princely state. In 1845, the First Anglo-Sikh War broke out. According to the Imperial Gazetteer of India, Gulab Singh contrived to hold himself aloof till the Battle of Sabran, when he appeared as a useful mediator and the trusted advisor of Sir Henry Lawrence. Two treaties were concluded. By the first, the state of Lahore handed over to the British, as equivalent for 1 crore indemnity, the hill countries between the rivers Beas and Indus. By the second, the British made over to Gulab Singh for 7.5 million all the hilly or mountainous country situated to the east of the Indus and the west of the Ravi, drafted by a treaty and a bill of sale, and constituted between 1820 and 1858, the princely state of Kashmir and Jammu combined disparate regions, religions, and ethnicities. To the east, Ladakh was ethnically and culturally Tibetan and its inhabitants practiced Buddhism. To the south, Jammu had a mixed population of Hindus, Muslims and Sikhs. In the heavily populated central Kashmir Valley, the population was overwhelmingly Sunni Muslim. However, there was also a small but influential Hindu minority, the Kashmiri Brahmins or Pandits. To the northeast, sparsely populated Baltistan had a population ethnically related to Ladakh, but which practiced Shia Islam. To the north, also sparsely populated, Gilgit Agency, was an area of diverse, mostly Shia groups, and, to the west, Punch was Muslim, but of different ethnicity than the Kashmir Valley. After the Indian Rebellion of 1857, in which Kashmir sided with the British, and the subsequent assumption of direct rule by Great Britain, the princely state of Kashmir came under the suzerainty of the British Crown. In the British Census of India of 1941, Kashmir registered a Muslim-majority population of 77%. A Hindu population of 20% and a sparse population of Buddhists and Sikhs comprising the remaining 3%. That same year, Premnath Bazaz, a Kashmiri Pandit journalist, wrote, "The poverty of the Muslim masses is appalling. Most are landless laborers, working as serfs for absentee Hindu landlords. Almost the whole brunt of official corruption is borne by the Muslim masses. For almost a century until the census, a small Hindu elite had ruled over a vast and impoverished Muslim peasantry, driven into docility by chronic indebtedness to landlords and moneylenders, having no education besides, nor awareness of rights. The Muslim peasants had no political representation until the 1930s. 1947 and 1948, Ranbir Singh's grandson Hari Singh, who had ascended the throne of Kashmir in 1925, was the reigning monarch in 1947 at the conclusion of British rule of the subcontinent and the subsequent partition of the British Indian Empire into the newly independent Union of India and the Dominion of Pakistan. According to Burtonstein's History of India, Kashmir was neither as large nor as old an independent state as Hyderabad. It had been created rather off-handedly by the British after the first defeat of the Sikhs in 1846. As a reward to a former official who had sided with the British, the Himalayan kingdom was connected to India through a district of the Punjab, but its population was 77% Muslim and it shared a boundary with Pakistan. Hence, it was anticipated that the Maharaja would accede to Pakistan when the British paramountcy ended on 14-15 August. When he hesitated to do this, Pakistan launched a guerrilla onslaught meant to frighten its ruler into submission. Instead, the Maharaja appealed to Mountbatten for assistance, and the Governor-General agreed on the condition that the ruler accede to India. Indian soldiers entered Kashmir and drove the Pakistani-sponsored irregulars from all but a small section of the state. The United Nations was then invited to mediate the quarrel. The UN mission insisted that the opinion of Kashmiris must be ascertained, while India insisted that no referendum could occur until all of the state had been cleared of irregulars. In the last days of 1948, a ceasefire was agreed under UN auspices. However, since the plebiscite demanded by the UN was never conducted, relations between India and Pakistan soured, and eventually led to two more wars over Kashmir in 1965 and 1999. India has control of about half the area of the former princely state of Jammu and Kashmir, while Pakistan controls a third of the region, the northern areas and Kashmir. According to Encyclopaedia Britannica, although there was a clear Muslim majority in Kashmir before the 1947 partition, and its economic, cultural, and geographic contiguity with the Muslim majority area of the Punjab could be convincingly demonstrated, the political developments during and after the partition resulted in a division of the region. Pakistan was left with territory that, although basically Muslim in character, was thinly populated, relatively inaccessible, and economically underdeveloped. The largest Muslim group, situated in the Valley of Kashmir and estimated to number more than half the population of the entire region, lay in Indian-administered territory, with its former outlets via the Jhelum Valley route blocked. Current status and political divisions. The eastern region of the former princely state of Kashmir is also involved in a boundary dispute that began in the late 19th century and continues into the 21st. Although some boundary agreements were signed between Great Britain, Afghanistan and Russia over the northern borders of Kashmir, China never accepted these agreements, and China's official position has not changed following the Communist Revolution of 1949 that established the People's Republic of China. By the mid-1950s, the Chinese army had entered the northeast portion of Ladakh. By 1956-57 they had completed a military road through the Aksai-Chin area to provide better communication between Xinjiang and western Tibet. India's belated discovery of this road led to border clashes between the two countries that culminated in the Sino-Indian War of October 1962. The region is divided amongst three countries in a territorial dispute. Pakistan controls the northwest portion, India controls the central and southern portion of Ladakh, and the People's Republic of China controls the northeastern portion. India controls the majority of the Siachen Glacier area, including the Saltoro Ridge passes, whilst Pakistan controls the lower territory just southwest of the Saltoro Ridge. India controls 101,338 square kilometers of the disputed territory, Pakistan controls 85,846 square kilometers, and the People's Republic of China controls the remaining 37,555 square kilometers. Jammu and Pakistan-administered Kashmir lie outside PIR Panjal Range, and are under Indian and Pakistani control respectively. These are populous regions. The main cities are Mirpur, Dadayal, Kotli, Bimba Jammu, Muzaffarabad and Rawalakot. Gilgit-Baltistan, formerly known as the Northern Areas, is a group of territories in the extreme north bordered by the Karakoram, the Western Himalayas, the Pamir, and the Hindu Kush Ranges, with its administrative center in the town of Gilgit. The northern areas cover an area of 72,971 square kilometers and have an estimated population approaching 1 million. The other main city is Skardu. Ladakh is a region in the east, between the Kunlun mountain range in the north and the main Great Himalayas to the south. Main cities are Leh and Kargil. It is under Indian administration and is part of the state of Jammu and Kashmir. It is one of the most sparsely populated regions in the area and is mainly inhabited by people of Indo-Aryan and Tibetan descent. Kashmir is a vast high-altitude desert of salt that reaches altitudes up to 5,000 meters. Geographically part of the Tibetan Plateau, Kashmir is referred to as the Soda Plain. The region is almost uninhabited, and has no permanent settlements, though these regions are in practice administered by their respective claimants. Neither India nor Pakistan has formally recognized the accession of the areas claimed by the other. India claims those areas, including the area ceded to China by Pakistan in the Trans-Karakoram Tract in 1963, are a part of its territory, while Pakistan claims the entire region excluding Kashmir and Trans-Karakoram Tract. The two countries have fought several declared wars over the territory. The Indo-Pakistani War of 1947 established the rough boundaries of today, with Pakistan holding roughly one-third of Kashmir, and India one-half, with a dividing line of control established by the United Nations. The Indo-Pakistani War of 1965 resulted in a stalemate and a UN-negotiated ceasefire.